Hey, Heather, we all set to begin?
Yep, go ahead.
All right, I'd like to just have a motion to call the meeting to order. All right, Mr. Smith, we have you. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Next thing we do is just a roll call. If you guys are probably the easiest way to do it for who's here today is to just go into the chat, and we can also just screenshot the people who are here as well. We can put that into the minutes for later on, but if you just go into the chat and put your name in, that way we'll be able to know exactly everybody who's with us today. I'd like to first of all, obviously Megan had to run out on a case that's going on right now, so she's out on an emergency out of the office. So we're going to try to go through some of this stuff here. A lot of people in the room I know have information related to a lot of it that to share. So we'll try to get this through for this January 21st meeting. So I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes from the October 15th meeting, 2020.
So moved, Carol LeBrecq.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I don't believe we have any correspondence from that came in from us at all for emails to have to address via email or anything else that came in through there. Is there anybody from the public here today? Doesn't appear that way to me if I'm looking through everything, but
I don't see anyone right now, but I would wait a couple seconds.
yeah.
Nope.
Okay. So with no public participation today, we'll move on to some of the unfinished business. Number 8 on our agenda is the radio system updates. Last time we met to talk, we talked about how the police department has moved towers over the Callahan Tower, and that the town was in the process of obtaining a consultant to be able to give us some information on that. I don't know, Mr. Chapman, do you have an update on that as well?
Yeah, the consultant's finished his preliminary study. He's created a report that will be going to the town council on Tuesday. It'll be on the agenda for a presentation by the consultant. And then it'll be followed up through annual budgetary process for both capital and operating budgets, depending on how the council wants to proceed with the upgrades of the radio system. So I haven't seen the final document of the report that'll be processed over the weekend. And so on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock on the agenda will be the radio report from the consultant for anybody that wants to zoom in and watch it. It's not intended to be a lengthy discussion between, questions and answers. It's more just for presentation, and then the council can take their the reports that'll be distributed and digest what it says. I will issue it out to all the public safety agencies once the council receives theirs, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, I think it's pretty intense and complete, and somewhat of a eye-opener when it comes to the cost of replacing the system. But it is what it is, and we'll decide how we want to proceed once it's presented on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to add? All right. As far as radios go, for what we have going on right now, we haven't seen any disruptions in our current situation that we have going on, and communications between police and fire are up and running. We haven't had any type of malfunctions or any kind of problems that had to be addressed as of right now. So hopefully once we get that report back from the meeting on Tuesday night or Thursday night, we'll be able to move forward with that way. The August 4th storm, we have a preliminary damage assessment that went through, and when we applied for that, the money has been approved for that. Today in the CROG meeting, they talked about it a little bit, about having some information about how we were able to claim the money and to be able to get that back out of the FEMA assessment for that. So that took a long time to get, obviously from August 4th, but we're moving along with that as well. Anybody, any other information regarding that from anybody? Okay. Currently, we talked a little bit last time about our emergency operations center. Obviously, with dispatch being moved in the new construction, we had to move dispatch up to where our EOC is now. However, we believe we were going to be able to get dispatch back down into its original dispatch center by March. So if that could happen, or as early as the next couple of weeks. So if we can get that back in there, we could have an EOC that is able to be functioning the way that we have in the past. I know we've also talked a little bit about creating a new EOC where we can have a backup EOC center. And we're talking with that with, I know Paul Boutot and I have talked about a little bit about what we're going to need for information with that as far as IT supplies. And we've also talked about different operations and where we can move it within the police department or in the area as well. One thing I'd like to bring up, and I'd like to see if maybe what the thought process is with everybody in the room, that in the time being, if we could maybe just kind of come up with a temporary location right now to maybe say, we thought about maybe in the town hall, in the conference room, so we at least have a place, centralized area where we could meet if we needed to, so that everybody's kind of on the same page. If we had to meet somewhere, we could go there. It seems like a logical place with Wi-Fi and different things inside the town with a generator operational and also the room to do so. So I'd like to just kind of open up to everybody and see what their thoughts are on that.
From the town manager's perspective, I think it would work fine.
Makes sense to me as well.
I agree. I'm good with it.
That works for us,
On the
Brian.
fire side too.
All right, excellent. I will talk to Paul directly after this meeting and try to get the things set up so we can make sure that we have everything we're going to need and that they're aware of it. And as long as the department head's all aware of it, and that's where we're going to try to plan to be. If there's some setback that I don't know about as far as from IT standpoint, we will try to alleviate that and make that the place to be for the time being. Obviously, we've been pretty lucky with storms so far, but we don't know what tomorrow can bring. So at least we'll have some sort of plan in case something does happen. The emergency management supplies and storage, section D of the agenda. Currently, we have everything supplied down on the firehouse, down by West Hill, and it's a small little area. I think last time we talked a little bit about the bus garage potentially having an area where we're going to be able to maybe have storage there in the future. But as of right now, the supplies are kind of up there, and it's not exactly the best spot for it, only because of the size and the amount of stuff that we need to store there and be able to get it in and out. So we're trying to look at a better place for storage at this point for our emergency supplies, which are shelter supplies.
I think, Ryan, we'll have a better understanding once we get the full facilities report after Tuesday to know what buildings are in what condition and which ones should be renovated or corrected or we'll say repaired versus those that maybe we should consider abandoning and getting rid of. So the building that you're talking about where you currently are located is probably one that may not end up being in the inventory any longer. So we'll have to find another location, I think, in any event.
Ryan, is it primarily shelter supplies that are stored there?
Yeah, primarily what we have up there for EOC sections and for emergency supplies is all the cots, the dog crates for the shelters. It's mostly all shelter supplies that are there now.
So I'm wondering if there might be storage at the senior center, which would make sense since that's typically our first go-to for shelters.
Ideally, that would be the best thing, because what we have to do now is anytime that we have to activate an EOC or a shelter plan in place, we have to get
Everything
truck from the school department, load everything up in a truck, drive it over there and store it there, and then wait to see if we have to unload it to set it up. It would be beneficial if we could keep some stuff there. Unfortunately, we can't keep everything there unless they have enough room. But because our primary shelter is actually the high school, as everybody knows. So we would maybe have to move it from there to the high school, but that would be on a situational basis. And the high school is kind of not the place we set up first. So the senior center would be a benefit, I think, if we could find a place there. All right.
Ryan, this is Chief Trommer. I thought last time we were going to talk about possibly putting it in the SWAT trailer, so it was more portable. The old SWAT trailer.
As of right now, the SWAT trailer is no longer in the inventory. We don't have it anymore. It's not up at the highway garage. It's been taken away, so that's not an option for that.
Okay.
So that's the SWAT. The old, it's not the current SWAT trailer, but the former SWAT trailer is currently not with us anymore. All right. So I guess we'll move on now to the Town Hall Emergency Action Plan. Megan, Lieutenant Morgan, and myself and Paul Boutot met up at the town hall. We did a walkthrough through the school department areas and the entire building, and kind of came up with a game plan of how we were looking at for security and things moving forward. That is in the process of being developed, and once it is, we'll get it out to each of you to review before we issue it to anybody, to see if there's anything from your particular department which you'd like to add, and then that should be out very shortly. If anybody has anything they'd like to add about it now, prior to coming out, specific information about your singular department, I'd like to open up to that to see if anybody has anything to say about that. All right. Second part, F, the Everbridge updates. We've gone through the Everbridge system and we've updated all the Everbridge alerts and notifications for anybody, for EOC updates and for emergency operations updates for everybody in the town, so that we have an active list. So only people are getting the Everbridge updates that came out. It's been tested and we believe we're all there. We're going to send out another test this month to make sure everybody gets it. And once that goes out, we'll be able to send out an email to everybody and let you know that they went through and we've received the response from you or the people in your department that should have received the response. Part G here, we talked about it. I know the emergency operation plan, that's updates coming up. I know, Dan, you sent an email a little bit beginning of the week about it. Do you have any information you want to share about that?
Not right now. Still
Okay.
getting into it.
Yeah, so obviously with Megan and I coming into this relatively recently, it's a fairly large undertaking to get through with everything. And we are currently going through that. Lieutenant Morgan, thank you for the language that you sent over to us. It's very helpful from the school system that they had. And we're also working on that to get that up and running as well, along with the emergency action plan policy for the town. The generator for John Wallace Middle School, that was discussed last time because we were looking to, John Wallace is the one school that we have actual loading dock, which for emergencies, we will be able to get supplies, shelter supplies, and food delivered to. But currently, John Wallace does not have a generator. And one of the things we were talking about is using the old town hall generator, possibly moving it over there. I think Paul was going to get in touch with that. I can definitely get in touch with him to find out exactly how that's going now that I see that we're moving in the direction of moving the current new generator to its permanent location. So we're going to look into that as well. If anybody else has any information about that, Rob, do you know anything about that by any chance?
No, I don't. It's being housed here at the highway garage currently, but nobody's mentioned anything to me about what's going to happen with it. But the just so you guys do know, the generator here that runs the highway department, the highway garage, is capable of running the training facility for the PD as well. It's just a matter of being wired.
Yeah, Rob, thank you. That was something that we discussed last time, to have a secondary EOC location, possibly being the training facility over at the police department.
Yep.
As a different location, because it is currently wired, just doesn't have internet access. And I know Rob was looking into that to see if the generator there could work in it. And like you said, it does. So that's definitely a benefit should we run into a problem with the town hall in the meantime, working up to that. So I guess we'll move on to number 7 here, the new business. So Megan sent out earlier with the the schedule for meetings coming up for the year for the 2021. Just like to have a motion for anybody to approve the meeting schedule. All right, and the review of the NIMS and ICS, Megan's gonna handle that. So when she comes back, we'll have her at the next meeting. We'll push that to the next one. COVID-19, Jonathan, I know you're with us here a little bit. We've had numerous meetings with the health district and Jonathan's very helpful for us and has been a valuable resource for all the things that we need to do here. One of the things I like to kind of stress to everybody that's here is that there's a lot of information that's going back and forth between what you hear on TV and what you hear from emails and states, and there's a lot of misinformation and there's a lot of information that the town can and can't do. And I'll tell you that from the guidance under Heather's done a great job with the VAM system. It's a complicated system to load everybody into, and it doesn't allow people in unless they're supposed to be in. And I know we want to get all of our people vaccinated, and Town Manager Chapman has been very clear that that's his ultimate goal, is to get his people vaccinated as fast as possible. And that's what we're moving towards. Unfortunately, the state has some guidelines in which we are not able to circumvent. So fortunately, with Jonathan at the helm here with Charlie, we've had numerous meetings to try to make sure that our people are vaccinated as fast as we can. We've currently had our first responders vaccinated. And I'm just going to kind of turn over here to Jonathan and talk a little bit about kind of where he's at with it and kind of what our plans are going forward.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is we're trying to have a test clinic. We did order some vaccine this week. We do not find out until Friday if we're going to get it, and then we'll have our test clinic the following week. We're working with the senior centers and other people to try to get stuff together to move forward and get some clinics together for people within the town, service that are the 75 plus. And then we have plans going forward as it opens up to municipal employees and teachers in that group. We have progressive plans for that. Dates are forthcoming. The biggest problem runs into is just the state allocation and the federal allocation issues that everyone's running into everywhere. So we are trying to get everybody to the hospitals or the other locations that are currently running and open for appointments, but you may have to travel. So just understand that availability of appointments is not as vast as we'd like to have it, but you know, we're going to do our part on our end to try to have as many clinics for you guys as we can.
All right, thank you. Any questions regarding our COVID-19 vaccination or anything that we have as far as the response to what we have been working with as far as our response at this point?
Yeah, I do. Jonathan, can you advise us as to whether those people that were authorized to get the vaccinations have gotten them, or is that still delayed because of vaccine shortages?
I'm not educated enough to answer that question. The problem ends up being is because first responders were eligible and safety personnel were eligible, does not mean they wanted the vaccine. So I'm under the impression from our towns, everyone that wanted it in the health district has generally gotten it on the EMS and medical portion. Obviously, now that 75 and up is open, it's a lot harder to keep track of how many 75 and older are actually getting vaccinated now.
Okay,
to where previously, you know, we could talk to the town, we could talk to AMR, we could talk to these people in safety. The only way to get it from all the 75-year-olds in our current phase is we just either have to go off of the data of the other testings or the other vaccination sites, or off of, you know, cold calling every senior in our district.
So at this point, are the seniors 75 and older having to go through the chaos of the way in which the first responders have and so forth? Because
unfortunately, their chaos is worse. So the chaos on the rollout of the electronic system to 75-year-old and plus does not jive. You know, when you talk about 75 plus, we do have a lot of people that are computer literate and they work the computer fine. However, there are a lot of gaps in that population, and making them use a system that's all internet based is difficult, and it's proving to be difficult in a lot of areas and getting people signed up. So I
So
think
if the
part of it
government-
has to do with the EUA, because this is under an emergency use authorization. It's not approved by the FDA, where that would alleviate a lot of the maybe computer-based part of this.
So if a 75 or older is not computer literate and doesn't have a computer available, what are they supposed to do to get an appointment?
In our district, so what they're going to tell them on the state level is the 211 system. You can call that and they will schedule you for a clinic somewhere. So that is the plan for the statewide. Our plan is we are going to try to have a clinic with direct reach out to that population. However, our capacity is not going to meet our need of the district. We have 100,000 people in our district. About 25% of the district is over 65. So I mean, just for our district, and you're a quarter of that, but that's 25,000 people over 65, let alone, it'll be a smaller chunk, but that's still a large amount of people that are not as easily accounted for as Ryan just taking all the officers that either wanted or not wanted the shot, so that's the problem now, is getting them into the system, getting them computer literate enough, and then push through. The 211 system from the state is supposed to alleviate part of that problem. And then we're working with the senior centers to try to see how we can overcome that problem as well. Your senior and disabled center is helping us with that.
So there's a good likelihood that some 75 and older are not going to be registered. They're not going to get the shots because they don't understand how it works or hasn't been told. So the system is really failing.
Yes. So my plan for CCHD's clinic and whatever we run, I am trying to remove that part, and we will do it for them or with them on site, which is going to hurt our speed, because usually, we've been able to do 600 vaccinations in 4 hours for flu. This, with the waiting and the burden of explanation of the vaccine and certain other portions that make it longer, it'll just be less people, but we'll do it as safely as we can. And we want to hit that population, because as the health district, that's our population, is the elderly and the people that need that little extra help. So working with the senior center and us having a clinic, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to at least get 100 seniors done very soon, but it really is based on allocation from the state of vaccine.
And
We
one
met-
one final question, Jonathan, I have, and then I'll shut up. Has there been a assessment or decision or determination made on how long the vaccine that everybody's getting now is good for? Is it 6 months, a year, 10 years? Does anybody know?
So I generally don't answer this question, but they don't know if it works against the current strain. All of our data is still from November 17th, and the FDA may have rolling data that has not been released, but we don't know how well it works against this strain. However, if it does, they're assuming that it's a longer term, that hopefully another mutation will not have any effects on this. So just off the cuff, the South African strain may not be in line with this type of protection, but the UK variant may be. That's all high science, that's above our head. We're not doing enough genomic sequencing in the state to be able to determine what strains are where and how this is going to work, because we don't really have all the data back on the vaccine yet.
So if everybody gets the vaccination, there's still no assurances that they're at all safe, because we could get the vaccination today and it could be gone a month from now.
Correct, but maybe for different things. They're assuming that the protection from that, let's even say it's 6 months, I don't know, but if they say it's 6 months and it wanes, that would be against the specific type of mutation there was for that spike protein. If there is a significant mutation on the spike protein, then it's almost like the flu, where you either need a quadrivalent, a divalent, And then you need seasonal updates to that because there's little changes in the proteins that our bodies don't recognize. So it does seem that if this technology works, they can do a quick turnaround and they can spin up another one. So we hope that this vaccine does what it is meant to do. And then as we go along, if there are any mutations, they can quickly change it. And the production side is already there where they will push out that variant.
Thank you, Jonathan.
No problem.
Okay, anybody else have anything for Jonathan or anybody else regarding COVID-19?
Yeah, just real quick, this is Dan again. As far as the first responders, I know a lot, about maybe a dozen or so of the volunteers are already going through their second set of the vaccination. We've been doing it through Hartford Hospital. They kind of started late December, early January to start scheduling stuff. Mine is scheduled for a week from today, actually. So everything there, again, those who want it are being scheduled or are scheduled. Oops, sorry, I muted myself. As far as the ambulance, they're either in the process of getting it or in the process of getting their second dose. So far, so good.
Nice.
All right. Heather, I don't know if we have any other public that has come in, but any public participation regarding any of the issues that we spoke about today?
Nope, I don't see anything.
All right. So
Only
unless
calls,
anybody, I'm
sorry
sorry.
to cut you off, Ryan. The only calls we've been getting from the public for the most part is that 75 plus or 65 plus knowing or wanting to know when the next round is. But just know that we are focused on the 75 plus and we're working with the social services and senior centers to try to get our seniors vaccinated as quickly and as swiftly as possible.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. So basically, just from Megan and my perspective, if something comes up with anybody, you have something going on, a question in your department, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we will get back to you if we don't know the answer. We have resources with Jonathan and a bunch of other people that we can be in touch with to try to make sure that we get everything we need for the town. So with nothing else, I make a motion to adjourn today's meeting until we meet again.
I make a motion.
All right.
I second it.
All right. Excellent. Appreciate everybody and have a good rest of the week. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you.